What is good? Osiris here, stuck in the middle. And I do have another channel. And the reason why I want to start with that is this video to me is going to be somewhat dark I have to be honest where we are as a country. And so this video is going to be somewhat dark, but I do have another channel called Positive. I do have a bunch of other channels, but this one is Positive Plus Some. Most recent videos on that channel talked about Cardi B. Cardi B dropped a dope snippet of a 7-second song that's going to be released in 3 days on April 15th. Talked about Kim Kardashian and her pictures with Pete Davidson. That's where I would go for a break from the madness. Thanks, Sarah and the Darren Monier, for coming in. I just posted a link to my other channel. This one is dark to me. This is not the main topic, but just breaking today, gunman wearing a gas mask. This is reported by UPI News. I don't even know who that is. UPI News reports that a gunman wearing a gas mask opened fire on subway commuters. There's videos on Twitter. Just go to Twitter and search it. Graphic stuff. Warning before you go see it. New York City. Like, you see that stuff on Twitter way before the news even breaks it. If you follow the right people, I don't know how they get the videos, but they get the videos hours before you even see the breaking news on TV or other websites. Twitter is the best by far. You don't see that to me on Instagram or Facebook as much. Maybe I don't follow the right people, but still developing story. Scary stuff, man. We are in dark times now, so that's all I'm going to say on that. We'll get more news later. But really what got me here wasn't that. It was Adam Kinzinger. I didn't have anything planned. This is just a rant to get this off my chest. We don't have the luxury of staying silent anymore. It's just not a luxury we have. Some people are not political, they're not active, that's fine, but things are getting too serious. Adam Kinzinger basically continued this pattern I've seen of officials, the entertainment industry, education, all of these elitists openly disregarding the possibility of nuclear war. You would think, and I'm transitioning over to Russia, Ukraine, you would think that our number one concern would be avoiding conflict. And however that needs to be done behind the scenes, that doesn't have to be communicated to everyone, but you would hope that communication to the world and American people wouldn't be, don't be afraid of nuclear warfare, we have to defend Ukraine. That's the message right now. That is the message that these people are portraying all over the place right now. I mean, they're almost to the point where if you disagree with that message, you are pro-Putin and you are disinformation, you're misinformation, you should be banned. I mean, we're almost at that point. Just having the take of, I don't care about either country, I hope we don't want nuclear war, right? That's becoming a radical take, or they're trying to portray it as such. The only way they can portray it as radical is if people stay silent. And they might not know what's going on. You got to go tell a friend or communicate, and this has to stop. At some point we have to put our foot down and say, I don't care about the blue team or the red team or these other interests I have. If you are recklessly calling for nuclear war, you need to stop. Otherwise, we need to get you out of office. We have to show that level of interest. We have been spoiled with all of our riches and the peaceful times we've had. We haven't really been in stressful times. If you're listening, they're warning us. That's not going to continue. That's not from me. That's from BlackRock. That's from Biden. Even Biden is saying it. So it's going to be worse than we're going into a midterm. If Biden is talking about the inflation and the famine and all that, and they didn't just say it will hit the poorer countries first. So basically they're saying our interests in Ukraine are worth more than the lives in third world countries that we know they're going to starve out. Like, period, just choke out and starve out. They know that. They're like, okay, Ukraine's more important than that. But they didn't say it just regulated to them. They know that's going to hit us potentially as well down the road. Not that far down the road either. What really got me amped up? I like this twitchy.com. Anybody else use this? It's just like basically what I'm doing. You see something on Twitter and you make a news article out of it. It's a great idea. So Sarah D on this Twitchy website says, what a shame that Adam Kinzinger doesn't want to stick around in Congress. With him gone, we'll have to find another bonehead Republican resistant representative to point and laugh at. I'm not at a laughing mood with this in particular. I'll find something else to laugh at later in the day. Don't get me wrong. I'm not laughing at this, though. Adam Kinzinger tweets, there are so many who say Russia is trying to draw us into war and America is the most heroic in restraint. Nonsense. If Russia wants to provoke, they will, but Putin fears NATO. This is the first war where an alliance can stop it in a few days, but fears a weaker enemy. I'm going to read the other tweet, then come back to these. If we let nukes prevent us from action, then expect literally every country to try to get nukes in the next few years. So what he's done here is try to start out with reverse psychology. There are so many who say Russia is trying to draw us into war and America is almost heroic in restraint. So it's reverse psychology. You might use it on your kids or other people. It's very common. They're saying, hey, America, they're saying like, oh, yeah, your restraint to not get involved is heroic. They want to make you think, oh, that's not heroic. Getting our young men and women involved in direct conflict with Russia is what Adam considers heroic. Over what? What are the interests in Ukraine? They have not laid out anything that would convince me as an American citizen as to why I should give a damn about Ukraine. Don't want to see anybody die or be displaced. But that happens all over the world. Why are you so concerned about Ukraine all of a sudden? That literally is happening all over the world. It's happening in other countries as we speak. What is the specific issue with Ukraine? There's no defense other than defending democracy. And the way Adam views democracy ain't the way I view it. So that's not a case for it either. Ukraine is a country that is basically become somewhat of a de facto U.S. NATO colony. Is that a fair way to describe it? It's like a modern day, in a way, colony where we send them money, we send them weapons, even before the war started. I mean, that was the whole Trump thing. Trump was like, hey, can you look into this laptop from hell for me? Or he was looking into the Burisma stuff at the time. It was, hey, can you look into this stuff that looks kind of strange with Biden when he was VP? What happened? And then we'll give you the weapons after that, which you can say is savory or unsavory, but that's obviously not impeachable. But my point is, Trump gave them the weapons. We've been doing this ever since 2014, playing this game with Ukraine. What the hell we care about Ukraine for? Russia could take over all of Ukraine tomorrow, and I wouldn't care less, especially if it avoided nuclear warfare. Adam Kinzinger right here is basically saying if we let nukes prevent us from action, what he's saying is I don't care about the threat of nuclear warfare. That's what that means. That's a member of Congress right now saying we got to get involved directly. Not to mention Ukraine's not a member of NATO. Ukraine has so much beef and so much scarred history, they couldn't be a member of NATO. How can you bring in a country that's already in a civil war, even before this conflict came in? All the fighting on the eastern part of Ukraine, because a lot of them are more closer to Russia than Ukraine. This is a lost state. It's just like there's not even a reason for Ukraine to exist. This isn't like America. The Ukraine doesn't have a founding like we do. And it's perfectly legit for them to give up and say we surrender. That is an option. Why is that a radical take? And why would I care if they did or not? Maybe that would save the lives of their people. We have not seen any evidence that Putin would be like the guy with the funny mustache and do all kinds of craziness. We have not seen any evidence of that. Adam Kinzinger and many others are openly saying we're good with nuclear warfare. And we can't stand back. We can't stand by and just let this happen anymore. These people are going to get you killed, period. This a cabal and their recklessness, and we know from the end of 2020 last year, or the end of 2020, going into, even before that, the pandemic, the Black Lives Matter, the end of 2020, how a lot of people didn't like how the transition of powers went on both sides. They are going to mess around. If we walk around with our heads in the sand, they will mess around and get us killed, literally. It's not even a game anymore. We're talking about nukes like it's just like nothing. If we let nukes prevent us. He's saying we can't let nukes prevent us from action. Of course we can. What do you mean we can't? Of course we can. And he's acting like this is something new. If we do that, then expect, playing off of people's ignorance, expect literally every country to try and get nukes in a few years? Ever since we dropped the bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, countries have been trying to get nukes. Why? I don't even understand how that's even coming up now. This isn't going to start some new push to get nukes. Countries have been trying to get nukes because they saw what we did with those bombs. Russia doesn't have like one nuke. They could annihilate the damn planet with all the nukes they got. Over what? Ukraine? Are you serious? We don't have troops on American soil. We do have an attack philosophically through our educational system, entertainment, with this cultural Marxism, neo-Marxism, postmodernism, wokeism. It doesn't matter what you label it. It is what it is. And it's a fact that it's here. But we don't, and we're not, notice we're not fighting that. We'd rather protect Ukraine than fight to protect Western values. Ukraine had got, and I've seen people, and I love Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk gets me pumped. If any Charlie Kirk fans out there, man, the dude is, I really like Charlie Kirk. Young guy too. But I think he said something to the effect of Ukraine is closer to us culturally, and he was trying to make a different point, but Ukraine is nothing like us culturally. I don't even understand how we're making that comparison. They're a puppet state. We basically put in the government we wanted in 2014, fed them money and weapons for whatever interest, maybe the buffer from Russia, whatever. As long as you avoid war with Russia, whatever. I mean, we're spending money and all that, don't like it, but I don't want nukes to fall. Democrats, Republicans, Libertarians, can we all shake hands and say this is complete nonsense? Can we all sit down at the same table and say this is complete and utter dangerous rhetoric? Sean Penn was recently on with Sean Hannity, and Fox News is just disgusting. Just absolutely. What a disgusting organization and network. And we really found that, at least me. I kind of liked Fox News. Like I liked CNN circa 2004. That was a good channel. And Fox News was good too. At one point, I really started to turn on Fox News after the election. Just didn't obviously the way they covered it showed that they had a complete bias that was no different than CNN or any of the other networks. They're just wrapped in a different wrapping paper. And they had Sean Penn on, and Sean Hannity made this feel like it was some great meeting of the minds. Like, oh, Sean Penn is on the show, and Sean, we usually would disagree on 90% of topics, but Ukraine is so important that we're here together, brothers in arms. And I'm looking at this, I'm like,
what was happening.
I'm looking at this, I'm like, are y'all serious right now?
Firsthand, take a look.
I make the first phone call to you. I don't know if you remember. And I said, I'm interested in the work that you do.
What is this nonsense, Fox News? What is this?
And why you were there even before the war started, and this documentary you're doing. Do you remember what you first said to me?
I do.
What'd you say?
I said that I don't trust you.
That makes all three of us there, because I don't trust you, and I don't trust and none of y'all. Even Tucker, who I like. I trust nobody right now. Just too many games out here. And not to say I don't like Tucker. Tucker's great. Charlie Kirk's great. I trust nobody right now. No one.
Is there a reason you didn't trust me?
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons I don't trust
So
you.
they started the interview with that, and the reason I bring that up is to kind of, they wanted to make it more powerful. Like, we normally don't sit together. So I'm like, okay, so if you, which I'm perfectly fine with, to get people together that you normally don't agree with. So what type of business for the people have you gotten together? You guys are both obviously rich and have a big platform. So Sean Penn gets together with Sean Hannity, and it's like, okay, I would be all for it. What's the topic that you have for common people during this crazy time? What did you bring him on there for? What are we talking about? What's the purpose?
In those early hours, I know that Trump gave them javelins. I know that they had some defenses. But if you go back to the Budapest Agreement, they were at the time the third largest nuclear power in the world. And
Does this sound like a conversation for common people? Just trying to live their lives and try to figure out, like, what does the Ukraine and Russia war mean to me? And he's talking about, right here, he's going to talk about how Ukraine shouldn't have given up their nukes. Give a damn. That's something for the Ukraine people to worry about.
And they made an agreement that they'd give those weapons to Russia to be destroyed in exchange for protection from Russia, Great Britain, and the U.S. Lesson to be learned here: don't give up your nuclear weapons.
So this is what they get together to talk about. This is obviously not a conversation to empower common people. It's to uncommon the military-industrial complex and all of this global interest from China to Russia to the U.S. in Ukraine. This has nothing to do with common people. Lesson to learn: don't give up your nukes. What the hell does that got to do with me? And our country, the betterment of our country, the safety of our country? What is this discussion about?
Weapons if you have them, because you can't believe people like Vladimir Putin.
Well, even countries that have nuclear weapons can remain intimidated to use them, and we're seeing that now with our own country. And
What the man, y'all, Jesus Christ. This is from the 6th. It's just all coming to a head. I've seen this like from last week, and Adam, did you hear what he just said on Fox News? Unquestioned, unchecked, in fact, even agreed with. What is going on? What are we doing? Is nobody going to say something? Like, this is complete garbage. He said even countries that have nuclear weapons can remain intimidated. Oh my goodness. To not
Because
use
you
them.
can't believe people like Vladimir Putin.
well, even countries that have nuclear weapons can remain intimidated to use them, and we're seeing that now with our.
What he's saying is, this is my interpretation, is that he's saying we're seeing that with our own country, the U.S., that we're afraid to use nuclear weapons. That's my interpretation of this. Am I wrong here? Like, did this happen on national TV and like nobody really talked about it? Did this really happen?
Putin.
Well, even countries that have nuclear weapons can remain intimidated to use them, and we're seeing that now with our own country. And I fear what that legacy is going to be. We don't want.
He's saying that he fears the legacy of the United States if we don't use nukes. I don't know. Maybe I'm in the Truman Show, man. This can't be real. This didn't happen. That's not possible. I mean, that didn't really happen, did it? Maybe he means peace, right? Maybe he means, I don't know. Maybe I think it has to be. It can't be what it is.
Don't give up your nuclear weapons if you have them, because you can't believe.
Sean Hannity says the lesson to learn is don't give up your nuclear weapons. Yeah, I think that's right as far as the country goes. What the hell does that got to do with us?
people like Vladimir Putin.
Why does Sean Penn's face look like that? There's a YouTube channel, I forget the guy's name, that does body language analysis. And it doesn't tell you things factually, but it's just demeanor. Like, what is he? His demeanor bothers me. Like, look at Sean Penn's face. Is this big enough? What's with his face? Is he drunk or? I mean, I'm just speculating, allegedly. I mean, seriously, I'm not even trying to be funny. It looks like he just did a line like right before the interview. And I don't know him. Maybe he's like drug free and all that. I'm seriously, I don't understand the demeanor. Because it's like he already knows where this is going. So if you sit down with people, and I'll give Tim Pool a lot of credit. He's in Nashville with his van. He does interviews in person. And I have to do them virtually, but to do them in person means so much, because you don't really get this as well if it's over video. So there's a moment when someone's going down a path and you already know like the answer to the question. And I think that's what's happening here. He's like, okay, I know I want to talk about us using nukes. Is he with the CIA? How does he come to this position? And you can look at his face, like, is that somebody you trust? Fox News put this dude on TV. I mean, I have no problem. My other day, and they're like, hey, do you want to talk? I will talk with anybody. I'll talk with Yahtzee. I'll talk with Zelensky. I don't care. But I will say whatever I want to say, though. And I'll be respectful. I don't look to have discussions, to have heated debates. So if I were in this interview, I would have to ask Sean Penn, like, you look bothered. Like, are you okay, bro? Like, no, seriously. Like, what's going on emotionally in your head right now? And you think it's okay to have nuclear warfare? Is that what you're calling for?
Britain and the U.S. Lesson to be learned here, don't give up your nuclear weapons if you have them, because you can't believe people like Vladimir Putin.
Well, even countries that have nuclear weapons can remain intimidated to use them. And we're seeing that now with our own country. And I fear what that legacy is going to be. No one wants to see a nuclear conflict.
I don't want to see one. Nobody does.
At the same time, if only one bully is going to be able to use those weapons as a threat, we got to rethink what we're doing.
In those early hours.
Oh my God. I can't believe that moment. I can't believe that moment actually happened. I really can't. I cannot believe that moment actually happened. There have been so many moments that have happened. I never really fully covered this moment. I'm getting sick of them trying to get us into a war. And I'm going to end. Many of you on the channel probably already know where I'm going to go with this, where I'm going to end, why they want to go into nuclear war. Just hypothetically, just speculating. But I did watch the water stuff over there, by the way. Very interesting on Rumble. But let me play this.
How does this end? Somebody in Russia has to step up to the plate. Is there Brutus in Russia? Is there a more successful Colonel Stauffenberg in the Russian military? The only way this ends, my friend, is for somebody in Russia to take this guy out. You would be doing your country a great service and the world a great service.
So they're just getting more and more reckless. We're seeing more and more false flags. John McCain, rest in peace. But he was over there. This is in 2014, where allegedly, I say allegedly because I haven't pulled the receipts, and I will eventually. But I've watched people, I've watched videos, and but I just got to pull the receipts. So allegedly, and people do disagree on this. They say that there's no proof that we upended the government in 2014. But Destiny is one of the best on this. Nick Fuentes is really good on the Ukraine-Russia stuff. He can get you resources to read up on your own. But in 2014, they set up and funded a new government. They went over there. They've been on this stuff. After once again traveling to Ukraine, McCain, Graham, and Klobuchar declared that the DNC hack was a Russian on America. So they've been doing this Russia-Ukraine thing for a minute now. McCain and Graham were the ones who pushed the phony Trump dossier. They've been doing this stuff for a minute.
Vigil, his energy sector, his banking sector. It is time to push back against Putin, but be a better friend to our allies over here, including Georgia.
This is a very important trip. We just left Ukraine, where we've seen firsthand what happens when Russia crosses over into a country's independence, and we saw it in our own election with the attempt to influence our election.
We will be
So we know now that that's all gunk.
working for much tougher sanctions against Russia.
So they've been gearing up for this for quite a bit of time. Over there in 2016, that they award orders of Ukraine to U.S. Senators John McCain and Lindsey Graham. Like, what was all this? There's so much going on. I haven't even talked about Hunter. This relationship just rubs me the wrong way. I don't feel good.
20.
I don't feel good about this relationship with Ukraine. Really defend why we need to risk nuclear warfare over them.
Your fight is our fight.
No, it's not. Where do you get that from? He said, your fight is our fight. No, it's not.
Your fight is our fight.
Ваша боротьба – це наша боротьба.
2017 will be the year of offense.
Рік 2017 рік буде ріком нападу.
All of us will go back to Washington and we will push the case against Russia.
Ми всі повернемося до Вашингтону і ми будемо відстоювати санкції проти.
Did they want war before now? Is that why they're against Trump? Because Trump was like, nah, I'm not going to war with them. Allegedly, Trump said, hey, Putin, if you make a move, I'm going to blow up. I'm going to drop some stuff on y'all. That was allegedly what Trump did to say, hey, nah. And who knows if he would have or wouldn't, but the threat was like, yeah, let me wait. So then now Biden becomes, all the hate dumps on Trump. We know all of the fake dossier and the fake Russiagate and all that. He got impeached over the Ukraine call. It's like there's so much going on with Ukraine. I just have a feeling when history tells this story, they're going to be like the American people were just deaf, dumb, and blind. It was all out in the open.
Проти Росії.
Enough of a Russian aggression.
Досить вже російської агресії.
It is time for them to pay a heavier price.
Час вже щоб вони заплатили важчу ціну.
I believe you will win. I am convinced you will win.
Not to mention, who is he talking to? Is this the Yahtzee organization over there or the military part of it? Who are they talking to?
We will do everything we can to provide you with what you need to win.
Я вірю в те, що ви виграєте, переможете. Я переконаний в тому, що ви переможете, і ми вам допоможемо всіма можливими засобами.
Це те ж саме гільзи з ворожих БМП, які розмальовані художницею.
I'm sorry, man. This stinks to high heaven. And beyond Hunter, Brandon, and Amy Klobuchar, and Amy Klobuchar is a senator that when I was blue-pilled, I actually liked her because she was more moderate. Man, I'm going to take a shower after this video, man. Just even thinking about even looking at her in a positive light. Like, I need to wash the stench of the past off of me, like right now. This is disgusting. And now we're going into more propaganda, more war, more bombs. The 60 Minutes Zelensky stuff. Extraordinary interview on 60 Minutes. Do we have a moral responsibility? There we go again. It's just all these platitudes and generalities. And notice it's all feelings, nothing tangible. The feeling of the moral responsibility. I guess we have a larger moral responsibility with Ukraine than other countries.
Books about the Second World War and about the devil in uniform, Adolf Hitler. Are those countries who did not participate in the war responsible?
What does the guy with the funny mustache have to do with Putin? Don't try to make that connection. That's not where we're at. It's not even close to where we're at. Russia doesn't even have, Russia's GDP is smaller than Texas. Now, with our sanctions, I don't know. Maybe we might boost that higher. I don't know. I don't know where it's going to go now. With their cozying up with China, making deals. But they're not the same thing. Russia couldn't even. Ukraine is a huge country. It's pretty big. Russia doesn't even have the forces to control the country, to occupy it. They can't. They could maybe like add on to the eastern part of it, but they don't have the resources to control it, especially if we're going to do this. You're in the NATO light. We're not going to let you be a NATO pro, but you can buy a supply. And who's paying the subscription? I don't know. Are these politicians, are our elected officials getting paid off here? Those are the questions we need to start asking. And regardless of that, because that will never come out, they need to get out of office.
The countries who let German forces march throughout Europe, does the world carry responsibility for the genocide? Yes.
I will tell you this. The U.S. doesn't carry any responsibility for you and your people. You Zelensky, carry responsibility for your people. And even beyond that, people of Ukraine, you have to take care of yourself. Same here in the U.S. I can't put the responsibility of my life on, you go put the responsibility of our lives on Brandon, on Adam Kinzinger. You got to take care of yourself. These people don't care about you. He's on a Hollywood mission to guilt people into a war. For what reason?
Yes, it does. When you have the ability to close the sky.
This interview was disgusting because 60 Minutes in the past, they would have tested him more. And they did a little bit, but it wasn't like it. They would have tested him to the point where it would have been awkward, contentious. They didn't even get close to that.
Yes, it's scary that a world war could start. It's scary, I understand that. And I cannot put pressure on these people because everyone is afraid of war. But whether the world is responsible for this, I believe so. Yes, I believe so. Stand in front of the mirror.
The world is responsible for what? You putting all your eggs in the basket that you were going to join NATO and it failed? That's my responsibility? No.
Every day. And ask yourself, were you able to do something or were you unable to do something? You will find the answer in the mirror to this question and to another question. Who are you? That's what I believe.
I know who I am, and I'm not the one that's going to be worried about your country, sir. We got our own issues going on. The world is going crazy. I'm not for higher prices and famine for your country, bro. That's for damn sure. Zelensky did this awkward photo shoot. Let's see if I can find that. It was just weird. He's doing what is going on? This is a photo shoot in the middle of war. People are trying to compare it to like war propaganda of the past, but I'd in the middle of war, a photo shoot like this, like it's supposed to be for Vogue or something. I'm not familiar with that. I'm gonna wrap up here, but I did a upload recently, just a little short, and I got a comment on it, which I appreciate, and somebody said, well, hey, it took courage to do this little short. Let me upload it here and see if it, I don't know if it will play because of the, let me see if it will work. It's not uncommon for Ukrainians, the same Ukraine that we were celebrating on 60 Minutes, and we want to send all this money to, all the black identitarians, all the black cabal in D.C. is like fully on board with. Forget about the Yahtzees and all that kind of stuff. Just from this standpoint, it's not uncommon for Ukrainians to refer to African Americans as N-word. Volunteers of color may be called a monkey or see children's game with blackface. This is the country you're supporting. This is the culture you support. You put a Ukrainian flag. A lot of y'all probably never even had an American flag in your bio before. You're probably triggered by it. Nothing like supporting a country that would look at you as N-word and a monkey. Y'all supporting some crazy stuff, man. Y'all support some goofy stuff. It's just, I mean, it's beyond goofy. It's like self-defeating. This is my takeaway. Why is this happening? What's my takeaway? I don't know. Could be completely wrong, but I'll just think out loud here. Now, if I'm wrong, I change paths. I don't have a problem of changing when I get new information, explaining why. We are on a trajectory right now in our country, just based on the polling. If you believe the polling, and I don't just believe the polling, it's just, what do you feel? Yeah, I feel that this is accurate here of what's going to happen in our country. We're at the point where it looks like it's going to be a red wave. The red wave doesn't matter if it's red wave of Liz Cheney's, right? So who cares if it's a red wave of Liz Cheney's? So it will be a lot of Liz Cheney's. They'll hide it. Liz Cheney's and Adam Kinzingers. It will be a lot of those. But also with that, even though it's a very small group, there will be an increase probably of a populist red base. And even if it's a small group, that populist red base, they're making a lot of influence and changes, and they're putting a lot of pressure politically on the fake ones. They can't stop that. Like, there's not enough of, I don't want to use the wrong terms here, but when you look at an election and all the different things, tricks and things you can do to win an election, who knows? They'll probably come up with some more, but there's not enough to magically stop this from happening. And they're not changing course. And so Adam Kinzinger and all these people obviously don't mind if nukes fly. At some point, we have to start asking why. And to me, I just wonder if there's a connection between their concern of momentum in midterms going to more populist right. 2024, who knows if there could be a trifecta, meaning House, Senate, super majority in Senate, and president. So long-term, Dems think they're okay with indoctrinating children. You're going to have more people in the establishment group. But short-term, 2024 is still short-term. The short-term, you could see a lot of power amass with non-elitists. Dave Rubin was on with Valuetainment, and he said, here's my take on it. You don't have to be a Republican, but right now it's not okay to be a Democrat. And that's kind of exactly my take too. I don't care what you are, but aligning with the Democrat Party is going to damn near get us killed at this point. And I just have to wonder if all of this is why. So I feel better. I got to go out to my obligation here, but let me do some comments real quick. Liz and Lindsay need to go along with Romney. Yep, it's ignorance. Putin does not want a neighboring country to have NATO support by placing large-grade missiles on their Russian border. Yeah, of course not. They're basically a NATO light already. I mean, what else would they get? What's the only, like, when you're subscribing to a website and you look at the light and then the pro version and you look at the check marks, what is in the pro version of NATO that they're not getting now? I think the only thing is the military. Like if they shoot at you, they shoot at all of us. I'll have to dig into that more, but that's off the top of my head. That's the only thing they're not getting at this point is automatic military direct support. Like, we jump in and fight with you. So they got all the check marks basically, except for that pro version of it. The governor of Arizona needs to go. And the governor of Georgia, those Republican Nimrods certified the 2020. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, we have unfinished business. I'm not YouTube. I'm not questioning anything. I just want to say generally there's a lot of people unhappy with 2020, what happened. And I hope that's still okay to say. You got to make moves to change it. To stop NATO. What does Putin want? Putin has his own country's self-interest in mind, and the U.S. and NATO is really the United States. The United States is basically, it's like Gladys Knight and the Pips. It's Gladys Knight. Like, that's the star of the show. It's the U.S. and the Pips. And so NATO is basically the U.S., keep on going east, 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 right on the Russian border. At some point, Russia's going to be like, I mean, imagine if Russia and China formed an anti-NATO group, and they made China, or they made Canada a part of their anti-NATO. Then they made Mexico a part of their anti-NATO. At some point, the U.S. is going to be like, and then they made Cuba. That was the Cuba nuclear missile crisis in the Cold War. At some point, the U.S. is going to be like, wait a second. You keep moving chess pieces. At some point, you're going to take one of my pieces. So I don't care about Russia at all either. But you can understand that standpoint. I understand Ukraine's standpoint too. I just don't care. Don't get me wrong. I understand their standpoint. But if you want to fight and show all that courage, then you take ownership of the lives lost. Don't try to say, I want all this courage for fighting a fight when we're outmanned, we're outgunned. And then also I want you to take responsibility for the losses. No. If you want to take the courage and fight for whatever cause you want to fight for, take the courage and own the losses. Don't do both. Lindsey is done. Yeah, Lindsey is. I can't believe Mitch McConnell just got elected. We're in such a different place now. There is no chance Mitch McConnell would have got reelected if we are mentally where we are now. I don't think. I have no idea how that could happen. There's no way. I think people are in such a different place right now. I mean, not just Kentucky, Alabama, someone mentioned Georgia. There's no way he would have got reelected. In the Senate, 6 years, so he's going to be there for a minute. Brandon Rudder said, just some light tactical nuking to keep everyone on their toes. This guy is a real humanitarian. Yeah, it's almost like he's acting like, just do a little mini nuke. He didn't say that, but it just felt like that. Would Hannity suggest North Korea keep its nukes? And if you're going to have that take, you have to be consistent. I would say, I understand. I am not a fan of North Korea, but you understand why they have their nukes. It's just what it is. Remember, Fox put the potato in office. Yep. Yeah, I'm completely out on Fox News. I mean, there's people on there I like, but like Tucker, Laura Ingram's okay at times, but as a network, they are trash. All right, I just wanted to get that off my chest, man. I'm just still feeling like it's just weird that nobody's really talking about this. I mean, you see chatter on Twitter and stuff, but you would think that there would be a rising with people to say, why are y'all talking about nuclear warfare? I don't know. Let me know what you think. Take care.